Most memorable cases on Judge Mathis.
She already told me before she had slept with over 400 men.
She told you she had slept with 400 men.
Over 400 men.
Over 400 men.
Over 400 men.
Okay.
No, she wild now. She a good person, but she wild.
Look at him. Talk about something. He gonna tell me, oh, I ain't never met a woman that don't want me. His ugly.
Amy and Anthony appear in court because Amy says Anthony fathered her child, but Anthony says he has doubts. He says when they first met, she said she'd slept with 400 men, which has made him doubt whether he is the child's father or not. However, Amy says they also got into a physical fight during her pregnancy.
We met back in 2006, December 2006. We got to know each other over the years, worked together, hung out together, had mutual friends. 2 months into the relationship, I moved him in. 6 months into the relationship, I ended up pregnant.
Amy says they met many years back and became good friends and also worked together. She says 6 months into their relationship, she found out she was pregnant. The couple was very happy at the news, but Anthony began coming home drunk every night. One night, he made sexual advances on her while drunk, and she slapped him.
A few hours went by, I was sitting down watching TV, and he decided to run his mouth and stress me out. So I went up to him and I grabbed his chin like a child, and I said, "You need to leave me alone. I'm pregnant with your child. You're stressing me out." That's when he decided to put his hands around my neck.
That's not true, but...
So when he did that, I automatically reacted, and I caught him on the top of his head with my fist.
She says after that physical fight, she kicked him out, but he sat down on the stairwell, and she was scared he'd make a scene, so she let him back in. Amy says her family members expressed concerns about his drinking habits. The couple kept getting into physical fights, so she finally put a restraining order on him.
So I went ahead and kicked him out for the final time, and I put a restraining order on him. Shortly after
Why did you have to do that?
For the safety of me and...
Well, no, what did he do?
He put his hands around my neck.
The second time?
No,
You had him-
just
Oh,
the first time.
quiet, the first time?
Yes.
And you didn't get a restraining order then, you let
Right
him
away.
back in.
Anthony says Amy was actually cheating on her boyfriend with him. She also cheated on her boyfriend with someone else and had to get an abortion when she got pregnant. He says he also saw her punch her ex-boyfriend at her sister's wedding. Amy says she slapped her ex, not punched him.
Now, she went to the police station and tried to file a report. Police told her, well, where's the evidence? No, there's no bruises on you or nothing, so we cannot give you a restraining order.
I have the restraining order, Your
Now,
Honor.
I've never heard about it or seen one. They never gave it to me, so I have no idea how that turned out. I just know she went up there, she told them.
Well, she's gonna show me how it turned out.
Anthony says he has no idea what happened to her restraining order. Amy shows Judge Mathis the restraining order. Anthony further says his doubt got worse when he found out all her male friends who came by the house were actually her exes, and she was hanging out with them while Anthony wasn't home.
He believed me until his family filled his head with a bunch of crap. What I do in my past before him has nothing to do with him, so it shouldn't even be brought up right now.
You're denying having the men come there at the house where
No.
you are?
No.
You did
I
have
have
men
male
come
friends.
there?
Yes, I
All
have
right.
male friends.
You weren't dating any of them?
No, sir.
Anthony says he didn't have a problem with them, but she was even going to the mall with her exes. Amy says he didn't have a problem with her exes or her body count until his family started turning him against her by making up lies. Amy says he even knew some of her exes well because they all worked together.
I got pregnant in June. I didn't find out until I was 5 weeks, which was the end of July. About 4 months into our relationship, we found out that his mother's surgery had to be moved up, so he went to North Carolina to care for her. He was supposed to come back to Maryland and be with us. As time went by, he never came back.
Amy says she filled out an application for child support, but hasn't submitted it as of yet, as Anthony insists on a paternity test. Judge Mathis says he will rip the child support application up if Anthony isn't the father, because he will not be eligible for child support. So, what's the paternity test going to say?
This is your application for child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're not sure whether I should rip it up or not.
Yeah, she
Because if that says he's not the father, I can rip this up, man.
Yes, you can.
All right. Anthony Peacock, you are the father.
Thank you.
When Carl found a great place to crash at on Craigslist, he had no idea what kind of a crackhead roommate he would be dealing with. Now, Carl's suing the defendant for leveling false charges at him, damaging his property, and causing him so much distress. That's $3,500.
Well, Your Honor, I met Miss Gregory May 5th when we were in a room in her house. Thought I was moving in with a normal person, but moved in with a crackhead.
She's a crackhead?
Yes, sir.
How so?
Not only is
How
she
did
a
you
crackhead,
determine that?
I seen her smoke crack. And not only does she a crackhead, she has a nerve to accuse me of sexual assault and having a firearm.
Your Honor, he is lying.
The moment Carl starts speaking, Lanell interrupts him, but Judge Mathis doesn't let her get away with it. He instantly tells her to stay quiet. The moment Carl moved in, Lanell's friend came over, and all they did was fire up the place and smoke crack. Poor guy was trapped among addicts.
You don't know why she threw your things out.
I know why.
Hold on.
Okay.
You don't know why she threw your things out?
I believe it was a scam from the beginning, Your Honor. I believe it was a scam from the beginning for her to steal my rent money and my property to continue her drug habit.
Okay, I didn't say that. I gotta ask her. I don't have to ask her nothing. I'm not suing her.
Yes, sir.
All right.
6 days later after moving in, Carl's thrown out without reason. For Lanell, things started taking a creepy turn when Carl made advances on her that she had told him she wasn't in the mood for. He would send her weird text messages, and slowly, she began to feel unsafe in her own home.
I come home, Your Honor, and this man standing butt naked in my living room smoking crack. That's what happened.
That's a lie.
And then after that, I almost had to cut him to get his clothes back on because he groping me, trying to
That's
have
it, Your Honor.
sex with me, Your Honor, and look at him. And I wish you see the package.
Lanell was traumatized when she saw Carl without his clothes. She kept telling him to put them back on because it was her home and he needs to have some boundaries. Instead of listening to her, he started groping her, and to protect herself, Lanell had to cut him to get him to stop assaulting her in her very own home.
The very next day after I came in and saw him naked in my living room, that very next day when he left the house, I would not let him back in. I don't know this man. I got him off of Craigslist. He could be the Craigslist murderer.
It was
for all I know.
Craigslist. It's all a lie, Your
Got him
Honor.
off the crack list?
Craigslist. I got him off of Craigslist, yes.
Your Honor, it's total lies.
Carl and Lanell keep calling each other crackheads, and that's when Judge Mathis decides to step in. Based on the way these two talk and how they behave, it's pretty clear Carl's the crackhead. The whole court erupts in laughter when he says to Carl, "You are not the father, you are the crackhead."
Sir, you are the crackhead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, this is it.
I'm really kidding, but if you force my hand,
Force it.
because I really don't know.
This isn't the instance, Your Honor. You're wrong on this one.
You got anything? I want
Your
to see
Honor.
something that says crack.
Once the jokes end, Judge Mathis asks that they can't build a case against Carl if Lanell doesn't have solid evidence against the man who stood naked in her living room. But Lanell's come prepared, and she hands in a bunch of text messages Carl sent her.
You say she threw your things out?
You threw some of my things out. I know some of my things are missing because I went up there actually on this day.
Why do you think she did it?
Because I wasn't there when I left. I couldn't get in the house to get him because I have the restraining order. I have the restraining order right here.
Why did she put a restraining order
I don't have
out?
the slightest idea. I don't know
You
what
don't
she told
have
me.
the slightest
I didn't
idea as we speak.
I did not
Good
get-
enough.
After Lanell went and got a restraining order against Carl, she decided she was going to ask the police to help her get rid of Carl's things so he can't come destroy her peace again. She never threw his stuff out, and Carl ended up with a year-long sentence for prison. Will Judge Mathis let this man sue this poor woman?
It said that you were fired for other reasons. No call, no show. Okay, you pled guilty. Therefore, I'm going to dismiss your claim, and I'm not going to grant you a judgment either for the emotional distress. Have a good day. Both your claims are dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
When there's a strip club and a girlfriend involved, things always take a funny turn. Shanteria's boyfriend had some seriously questionable demands after his father passed away, such as asking her to drive him to the strip club and then getting his own finger bitten off by her.
I would like to start off by saying, prior to this incident, I did not know Miss Clay. But on the day we met, I met Miss Clay. She was in a drunken stupor. She was something like a Hannibal Lecter on this day because she bit her boyfriend's finger halfway off. She was then taken into custody for criminal trespass and battery.
The boyfriend's sitting all quiet in a corner as Reika tries to defend all his dirty business. Both Reika and Shanteria are suing each other for around $2,000, but both for very different reasons. Judge Mathis has bitten fingers and emotional distress on his plate today.
We continued to watch them fight, and then they went on into the house. You could see the shadows moving about the house. You could still hear the hollering. And then, like somewhat on a horror show, the door opened, and then Miss Clay was pushed out, and then the door was slammed behind her, as if he put her out. So
you're being nosy, but you won't call the police.
It's very strange that Reika's suing Shanteria for biting the boyfriend and throwing rocks at her brand new car, but she didn't have the guts to call the police when she saw the boyfriend donkey slamming his own girlfriend. Judge Mathis questions Reika's morals because all nosy people they're good for is poking their nose into other people's fun.
Go ahead, man. What do you want to tell me today?
Miss Lyon is a compulsive liar. When I originally met Miss Lyon, she used to take me back and forth to school. I go to Atlanta College, so I used to pay her to take me to Atlanta College. The day that this incident happened was not the first day that she met me. Okay, so the night, yes.
How long had you known her prior to that?
I probably know her 3 weeks.
So not only is Reika a nosy woman, she's a big fat liar too. When she saw Shanteria throwing rocks at her car, she immediately dialed 911. She didn't care Shanteria was being abused by a man in her neighborhood who was spitting in her face. Aren't women supposed to have each other's backs in this era of Me Too?
We was just having a night out because my father-in-law, he had passed, so we was celebrating the repassing and all this.
Yeah, didn't you say you went downtown with them or something?
No, this was on the night that it happened.
You didn't go?
They paid us to take them and bring them back.
This was before or after the incident?
No, this was before the incident.
But you said you never met her until
I met her this day.
Even Judge Mathis is pretty confused by Reika's account of events, because when Shanteria starts to tell her version of the story, there are no rocks and no bitten fingers. Instead, it was Reika and her boyfriend yelling at 2 a.m. and waking up the entire neighborhood. Between two psychotic women, who does Judge Mathis believe more?
I believe everything she's saying, and I believe nothing you said. She's very descriptive. You were very vague. You say you saw her damaging your car. You had no idea why she would do such a thing. Your case is dismissed. I believe you've perjured yourself, and I believe everything you say. Have a good day. Judgment for the counterclaimant. Have a good day.
It's one thing to have a crazy ex-girlfriend who ruined your life, but you know things have gotten out of hand when your mom ends up suing her for $1,000. Eric's mother, Mary, isn't the kind of woman to take you lightly, because guess what? Heather, the crazy ex, took from her.
She conned me into renting a house with her. Yeah,
Well,
she
how
stayed on
so?
me and on me and on me until I finally said okay.
That's what's true.
Okay, she pressured you. Where were you living when she pressured you to?
I was living somewhere else.
And you did it just to appease her?
No, I was trying to help her actually.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
She couldn't get the place on her own.
Mary reveals Heather's biggest weakness, and it gets Judge Mathis laughing out loud. Turns out, Heather's a bit of an addict, and her addiction is prescription drugs. Judge Mathis tries to take Heather's side, but Mary stomps her foot down. She says Heather is a drug abuser.
I've known the defendant for about 15 years. She did date my youngest son, not Eric. This is Eric. I know she has issues with prescription drugs, and
I do too. My pharmacist doesn't always get me mine in time. Yeah.
Then Eric starts accusing her too. He saw Heather trying to sell her painkillers for $25 a pill when he went to her house once. The mother and son duo have lots of dirt on Heather, and the next revelation even takes Judge Mathis by surprise. Heather's not as innocent because she's a con artist.
after we got the keys and stuff, her whole demeanor changed. And then she moved all of her stuff in, and it was just full. There was no room for me at all. But anyway, I had decided not to move in after all.
Okay.
So I never moved in, but I paid rent and stuff.
And that's when things start getting juicy. Judge Mathis finally gives Heather a chance to speak. And boy, is Heather's story completely different. She says that one of Mary's sons had ended up in prison and Mary was homeless. She was living from car to car. That's why she wanted to buy a house with her.
Eric and Jason had lived with their mother. She was taking care of them, but she
Okay.
lost her home.
Okay, and where'd they go?
Jason's in prison and Eric's living with her.
So she was living with her sons. She lost her house. She went to the car. Where did her sons go?
They stayed, Jason stayed from house to house, and as she did.
But the most unbelievable thing is that Mary's suing Heather for stealing an antique bed from her. Talk about old women being petty. Heather says that Mary gifted it to her, but Mary keeps insisting the witch took it as a loan and ended up keeping it forever. Would Judge Mathis rule in favor of the pill-popping ex or the vintage-obsessed mother?
Well, breaking in is a crime. You need to go back and ask them to prosecute someone and then go all the way to the police commission. If
Okay.
they fail to allow you to file the charge, you don't say that the owner came to get it back. Judgment for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.